Hey guys, what's up? It's the Brain, also known as Bloody Face, and today I'm going to do part 2 of the Boomsday project set review. If you haven't seen part 1 already, I'll leave a link in the description below, or I'll annotate this video so there should be a link around this area. But if you've already seen part 1 or you just want to jump into part 2, we're just going to go ahead and get started. So, first card we got here is Zarek's Cloning Gallery, and this is part of the legendary spell cycle that each class is going to get. Unfortunately for Priest, this one isn't that great. I think there's two main routes that you can go with this card. The first route is the combo route. You could build a deck with like Prophet Valen, Radiant Elemental, and get some sort of Mind Blast OTK, maybe Malygos. But I think the problem with going the combo route is if you draw your combo pieces, you're kind of shit out of luck with this card. Um, and if you go down the value route, if you wanted to build a value deck with this card, I guess you just want to summon a bunch of Death Rattles. Fortunately, right now in Standard, there aren't like a lot of good Death Rattles that you would even care to summon with this. So I think this might be more of a wild card. In Wild you have cards like Sylvanas and Ragnaros and more exciting things to summon 1/1 copies of. Not so much in Standard. So I think its impact in Standard is going to be pretty minimal. If I had to give a rating, I'd probably give it like a 1.5. Next up, we got Blight Nozzle Crawler. 4 mana 2/4 Death Rattle, summon a 1/1 Ooze with Poisonous and Rush. So, this card obviously isn't very good in Constructed. It's not going to be good in Odd Rogue because you can't play it. It's not really going to be good in Miracle Rogue because Miracle Rogue wants higher power minions to deal more damage. Doesn't really care about the value. Also if your opponent kills this guy on their turn, they can just hero power the 1/1 or do whatever they want with it. So its Death Rattle isn't really that good. It's hard to control. If you could somehow always control it so it triggers on your turn, maybe this card could be better. But because a lot of times your opponent's going to be popping it and killing the 1/1 rush, I don't think this card's going to be very good. It is a mech, so maybe if we get some more mech rogue cards, it could see play, but I think so far we have not seen very much mech rogue synergy, so I'm going to give this guy a 1.0. Next up, we have Starliner. 7 mana 7/7, already, okay stats. It's just a War Golem. If you control 3 minions with 7 health, deal 7 damage to all enemies. So obviously the payoff on this is like pretty decent. 7 damage to all enemies is usually going to wipe the board. 7 damage to face is also pretty good as well. But it's just going to be so hard to get this battle cry off. There's not an easy way to cheat out 7 health minions. I mean, some cards that come to mind, maybe like Injured Blade Master, but it's going to be hard to spend 7 mana on your turn and already have 2 7 health minions just because your opponents are going to be trading into your creatures, are going to be killing your stuff. In Hearthstone, creatures just trade off naturally. It's not easy to keep a board of like big minions. And even if you do have two other minions with 7 health, I think you're already doing pretty good. So you don't really need this guy. So I don't think this guy's going to see any constructed play. There might be some combos out there. Maybe if they print some sort of way of summoning cheap 7 health minions, I don't know. But I don't think this guy's going to be good. I'd have to give it a 1.0 right now. Next up, we have Cybertech Ship. 2 mana. Give your minions Death Rattle. Add a random mech to your hand. This card reminds me a lot of Infest, which was, I think, 3 mana. Give your minions Death Rattle, so, get a random beast to your hand. And these types of cards are just not that great. For one, they require you to have a decent board presence. 2, you don't get the value until the minions trade off. And 3, it's random mechs, so it's not even like Spirit Echoes where you get the minions back to your hand. So it's just a lot of randomness, a lot of stuff that needs to go right just to get value from it. This card is not very good. So yeah, I'm going to have to give this one another 1.0. So far off to a lot of unplayables, but I promise this set review will have some better cards. Next up we have Pogo Hopper, which immediately I think a lot of people are drawing the reference to Bunny Hopper, which is kind of funny because Blizzard has a tendency to create Hearthstone cards around previous world champions. We have Babbling Book. Actually, Babbling Book was not for Pavel, but he is known for Babbling Book. We have Fiery Bat for Firebat, and we have Priest of the Feast for Oskaka. I'm not sure. I think Pavel got one, but I don't remember what he actually got. I immediately said Babbling Book just because that's the card everyone knows him for. If you don't know the reference, there's a game. I'm not sure what game it was. I think Pavel was down 2-0 in the World Championships playing against Amnesiac. and he played Babbling Book, got the exact card he needed off of it, and from that, like, top decked another 3 cards in a row to, like, take over the game. And then he reverse swept Amnesiac after that, and then he went on to win the World Championships. It was a moment where he probably had less than a 1% chance to win, and, just to be eliminated in top 4, and then he went on to win the whole World Championship. But anyways, it's funny that they would make a card Pogo Hopper for Bunny Hopper, who has not yet won the World Championship, but could win the World Championship, so maybe a little bit presumptuous. Anyways, Pogo Hopper, 2 mana, 1/1. Battle cry, gain +2/+2 for each other Pogo Hopper you played this game. So, this card is in the right class. It's in Rogue. We've already looked over the 2 mana 3/2 that shuffles 3 extra copies in your deck. This card is like Youthful Brewmaster and, Zola and Shadow Stab. So there's different ways to, like, replay it, but this card's just not that good. If you're already playing a deck committed to playing all those cards I just mentioned, you would just be playing Quest Rogue, because Quest Rogue's just already like a better version of what Pogo Hopper's trying to do. So unfortunately, I don't think Pogo Hopper is going to see any constructed play at all. I'm going to have to give it a 1.0. This is a pretty fun card, though. Alright, I think we finally got a good card here. Omega Assembly. 1 mana Discover a Mech. Alright, you can already stop there. 1 mana Discover a Mech is decent. Like, it's not great, but 1 mana Discover a Mech is already good enough for constructed play. Especially in Warrior, if you saw part 1 and you saw Dr. Boom, you would know that Warrior mechs are probably the most likely deck to be a mech deck. Warrior's the most likely class to be a mech deck, excuse me. But this card has the bonus effective. If you have 10 mana crystals, you get to keep all 3 cards. I mean, that is just absolutely ridiculous. This might be the card that pushes Mech Warrior over the top. I mean, you already have Dr. Boom, which is amazing. You get a pretty amazing hero power every turn. But this card, just 1 mana, draw 3 cards, and they're going to be mechs, so it's going to synergize really well with your deck. This card's extremely good. I think this is going to be the centerpiece of the Mech Warrior deck, and probably separate it from all the other classes as being the standout mech class. Yeah, I'd have to give this guy a 4.0. I think it's that good. I think this card might change the standards metagame. Alright, next up we have Blox Prayer. This is a Druid card, which is interesting. 8 mana 4/4. Summon a copy of each adjacent minions. So, on the surface, obviously things that come to mind, the card that's been plaguing Standard, or maybe you like it, it's Carnivorous Cube. Carnivorous Cube is seen its way in like multiple different decks. It's been in Hunter now, it's been in Warlock, and it's been in Taunt Druid. Carnivorous Cube has just been everywhere. And obviously the most busted interaction is if you get to copy a Carnivorous Cube with Blox Prayer. So unfortunately though, I think it's going to be too hard to get off. 8 mana is asking for a lot. Also, the Druid class right now has so many things going for it, especially with like Biology Project coming out. You can still have Ultimate Infestation. You have Floop, that can copy Malygos. I think Druid's just doing way more powerful things for it even to care about Blox Prayer. I don't think Blox Prayer is going to make an impact. Maybe after some of the other sets cycle out and Carnivorous Cube and Blox Prayer, maybe there might be some interaction down the road. But I think for right now, maybe if this was like a Hunter card, or maybe if it was a Warlock card, I could maybe see this thing play. But for right now, it's probably not going to see him play. So I'd have to give it like a 1.5. Oh, alright, so that's it for on Blizzard's website. But luckily, they don't update their website very often, so I have all the other cards here. So next up we have Boommaster Florrick, which is a legendary Hunter minion. Summon mana, 5/5, already kind of weak. Summon 4/0/2 Goblin Bombs. And if you don't know what Goblin Bombs are, they just have Death Rattle, deal 2 damage to the hero. This card's very underwhelming. There are a few ways you can, you have to work to pop the bombs. The bombs don't have any power. So, I mean, it might be cool in like Wild because you can play like Feign Death to like deal late damage. You could play Void Ripper to just flip by your Goblin Bombs. You can play stuff that triggers Death Rattle, but 2 damage to the hero is just not very exciting. I think Hunter can do a lot better. Right now, Hunter in Standard is all about just synergizing with like Death Rattle, around Devilsaur Egg or around Carnivorous Cube, or cheating out Witchwood Grizzlies with your 8 mana 6/6 that summons a random beast or recruits a random beast. But yeah, Boommaster Florrick isn't really good enough for any of those archetypes, and it's definitely not going to create archetype in its own. So I'd have to give this guy a 1.0. He's just pretty weak. Next up, we have another pretty solid Mech Warrior card, Eternium Rover. 1 mana, 1/3, which is already good. Whenever this minion takes damage, gain 2 armor. So its effect is kind of mediocre. I mean, getting some splash armor is decent for some matchups, especially because Mech Warrior's going to be looking to curve out. It's not going to be able to use its hero power as often. Also, when you upgrade this guy, just getting the recursive 2 armor off of it. Think Ally Armorsmith. I mean, Ally Armorsmith was more of like a mid-range type card, not really a aggressive type card, and I think Mech Warrior is going to want to be a little bit more aggressive. But just a 1 mana 1/3. When you think of 1 mana 1/3s, we have cards like Northshire Cleric, Mana Worm, Dire Mole has seen play. I mean, this card's just a better Dire Mole. It's just it's a mech. Even if this card had no text, it would see play. If it's just a 1 mana 1/3 mech, it would see play. It's not as busted as the other mech, the Omega Factory, whatever that card was that draws 3 mechs if you have 10 mana. But it's still pretty good, so I'm going to give it a 3.0. I think it's going to be a staple in Mech Warrior decks. Alright, next up we have Eureka. I think this is one of the more interesting cards that have been spoiled. It's kind of awkward for right now in the metagame. Right now, because this is a Shaman card, Shaman's more all about Shutterwalk or maybe aggressive with, or maybe more aggressive with even Shaman. But Eureka is more about, summoning like Earth Elementals or Lich Kings. The thing that comes to mind with Eureka is Ancestral Spirit. If you spend 6 mana, summon a Lich King, give an Ancestral Spirit, or spend 6 mana, get an Earth Elemental to your hand, and then Ancestral Spirit it or Spirit Echoes it or something like that, that's pretty powerful, and it gives you a lot of ways to get recursive threats out. This card reminds me a lot of Ancestor's Call. Ancestor's Call is a card in Wild. It's 4 mana. Both players summon a random minion from their hand. I think there was some combos with Malygos. Just spending 4 mana to get the Malygos into play and then throwing a bunch of lightning bolts and lava bursts at your opponent. This card's kind of similar. It is 2 mana more expensive, but even spending 6 mana to get a Malygos out, it's still pretty good. I expect this card to see constructed play at some point. It might not be in a tier 1 deck. It might be in a tier 2 or 3 deck. It really just depends on how much support Shaman gets. But I think this is a pretty powerful card, and it can help create new Shaman archetypes, so I'm going to give Eureka a 3.0. Its immediate impact in Standard probably won't be very big, but as more and more sets come out, and there's going to be more and more combos, I think Eureka is going to be a card to look out for. So I'm going to give this a solid 3.0. Next up, we have a Hunter card. Fireworks Tech. 2 mana, 2/1 Battle Cry. Give a friendly mech +1/+1. If it has Death Rattle, trigger it. If you watch part 1, I already said that Mech Hunter probably isn't going to be very good. Right now we got the Magnetic 3 mana 2/2. It has Death Rattle, destroy random minion. And, I just don't think another support card for Mech Hunter is going to make it any better. This card just doesn't do very much. It's pretty underwhelming. Like, you have to start with the turn 1 mech to curve out. And right now, I think Hunter only has access to the 1 mana 1/1 mech, give another mech +1/+1, which you don't want to play on turn 1. So unless they print some sort of neutral mech, I don't think this card's going to be very good, because you do want to curve out with it. When you think about cards like, for example, Rockpool Hunter, 2 mana 2/3, give another Murloc +1/+1. That card is a staple in Murloc decks, but it was because it was essentially a 2 mana 3/4 when you add up all its stats together. This card's a 2 mana 3/2 when you add up all its stats together. That's just not very good. Triggering a Death Rattle and it has to be in mech. Oh, actually, I read this card wrong. If it has Death Rattle, no, never mind. I read this card right. Okay, for a second I thought you could trigger it on Egg. Cannot trigger it on Devilsaur Egg. It's not a 2 mana play dead. So yeah, I think for those reasons you can't play it alongside Devilsaur Egg or Carnivorous Cube unless they come out with some card that allows you to change those into mechs. Then maybe, but that card doesn't exist yet, so I think for right now I'm going to give this guy a 1.0. I don't think he's going to see any constructed play. Alright, next up we have Mechanical Whelp, which is funny because this is sort of like a mech type dragon, but there's no subtypes yet. Or maybe there will be in the future. Right now there isn't. 6 mana 2/2 Death Rattle, summon the 7/7 Mechanical Dragon. The first thing that pops up into mind is the other card we saw, Starliner. This card does help enable Starliner because you can play it on your turn, and then your opponent's not going to want to pop it. So then maybe if you just like play Vivid Nightmare, for example, summon another copy of a Mechanical Whelp, then blow them both up, then play Starliner, and then you get the battle cry off. Woo! Yeah, it's a lot of work, and it's not very much payoff. It's not like you win the game or anything. Dealing 7 to your opponent's board is pretty good, but it's not game winning. I think for those reasons, this card just doesn't really have any more interaction with anything else. I mean, you pay 6 mana and you can get a 7/7 the next turn. That's just pretty underwhelming, especially when you consider cards like Boulder Fist Ogre or 6 mana 6/7s, and those are cards I don't see play at all. This is basically a 6 mana 7/7 that can kind of deal 2 damage, but it like delays the effect for a turn. It is Death Rattle, so you know it's nice because you can get some interactions. Maybe play with the Priest Legendary spell. Excuse me. But I just think you're gonna have to work too hard for it. This card's too expensive. It's not like Devilsaur Egg, which is a 3 mana summon a 0/5. You know, 6 mana, you really expect to impact the board, not really like play a card that doesn't really impact the board very much. I do think there are some like fringe combos with it, so for that reason, I'm gonna give it a 2.0. Alright, next up we got the Boom Ship. Summon 3 random minions from your hand, give them Rush, 9 mana. So this card kind of reminds me of Varian Wrenn, which if you don't know what Varian Wrenn is, it's a 10 mana 7/7. Flip the top 3 cards over and summon all minions from them and put the rest in your hand, I think. This card's kind of similar to that. Usually Varian Wrenn was just 10 mana, summon like some big fatties like Ragnaros or Grommash if you're lucky. Or even get like Crocran, Ironworks, not Ironworks. The 4 mana 4/3 with charge, I forget what it's called. But anyways, Recruit Warrior is a thing right now. It's not very good. Right now we have Woe Cleaver, and we have like pretty good top end like Ysera, Lich King, Grommash. So the Boom Ship is pretty good for those reasons. I mean, summoning those 3 minions at once is going to be pretty good. Unfortunately, this is only going to be good against like mid-range decks that don't have board wipes and can't deal with big minions. It's not going to be good against decks like Mind Blast Priest or Control Warlock, or probably even like Big Spell Mage, where they can just like wipe the board or just deal with big threats. So this card's going to be kind of polarizing in its matchups. I think it is strong enough to see constructed play, but I don't necessarily think it's going to be amazing. I think in some matchups it's going to be amazing, but in a lot it's not going to be good at all. And I think in those matchups it's not good at all. It's going to be almost a dead card, I think. Unless you build the deck more aggressively and play it more mid-range, maybe this could be played in Mech Warrior. You know, turn 10, play the Omega card, get 3 mechs, play those cards, summon all of them, make a push. I don't know. I mean, giving them Rush just isn't that good. Like, if they gave Charge, the card would be broken. But just because they have Rush, it's sure you get to like get value trades in, but then your opponent gets a whole turn to like deal with your board. So I'm gonna give this card a 2.5. I think it's a little bit underwhelming, but I think it is amazing in certain matchups. So I think it will see some play. And last up, we have Christology. 2 mana, draw 2 1 attack minions from your deck. This card is interesting. It's 1 attack minions, not 1 casting cost minions like it was when I first read it. I'm not sure if there's really anything that Paladin cares about getting. There's the 7 mana 1/1 that whenever you play it, you recast every spell that you played on your minion onto it. That deck has not been terribly exciting. I think right now Paladin's role is more about just like being aggressive and like, you know, Odd Paladin swarming the board. Even Paladin just like playing cards like Equality, Avenging Wrath, Valinar, like heavy power cards. Or I mean that's pretty much it. There's still a combo Paladin with the Death Knight, but I just think you have to work a little bit too hard to get it off, and this card doesn't really fit into that strategy very well. So I think for those reasons it's pretty underwhelming and doesn't really fit what Paladin wants to do. So I don't think this card will see any play. I'm gonna have to give it a 1.0 for right now. And it looks like that is it. Today I decided not to do a top 5 since we didn't review as many cards as part 1. After all the cards are revealed, I will do a top 10, you know, just to kind of show like the cards I think will impact standard the most. But I think that's going to be it for today. Part 3 will be coming up in a couple more days. I think right now we're up to 50 out of 130-ish cards revealed, so we're about a little over third way there. So still going to be a lot more content I'm going to make about this set. And that's going to be it for me. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in a few days. Peace.